guys, this is Madz and for today's vlog, I will be sharing with you step-by-step studying techniques. I divided this vlog into 5 parts because studying encompasses listening to lectures, note-taking, preparations, reading, which also includes highlighting, underlining, and listening to music, as well as, of course, time management. Step 1 is listening to lectures. So this is our first step because when we go to school or when we have our online classes, the first thing that we have to do is listen to lectures before we have our exams or our quizzes. So when it comes to listening, that depends on whether you're already having your face-to-face learning or you're still having online classes. So if it's face-to-face learning, of course, you try not to talk to your classmates because when we say listening to lectures, what's very important is that you try to avoid distractions. So if you have a choice, you sit in front because the closer you are to the professor or to the teacher, the less you'll get distracted. And besides, your eyes would be directed in front, you would then see more clearly. Now what if it's online classes? So you try to situate yourself in a quiet room and you try to avoid checking your phone or checking social media or chatting or texting. If possible, or if you were able to ask permission, you also try to record the lecture because later on, especially for auditory learners, it can help you recall or go back to the subject matter that you may have missed. Now for the second step, that is note-taking. Whether it's on your gadget or on a paper, the rules would be the same. I advise that you use 3 main colors, and that would be black, red, and one other color, which in my case would be purple. So you try to limit it to these 3 colors in order for you to save time and to have a more efficient note-taking process. So if you also have things that you want to emphasize in the information, you can also additionally underline using the red pen. Try to remove articles, unnecessary prepositions, etc. So you also have to use numbers, bullets, and brackets to keep your thoughts organized. So in the lecture, it may happen that the slides would be in paragraph or sentence form, so it's up to you to make it more concise. Now let me give you an example on how I take down my notes. So shown here is an example of a lecture slide, and this is how I would take down my notes. Now what if you have the lecture slides? So that would be better because you would already have to skip the part of taking down your notes and you can already highlight and underline. And you could also add additional notes from the lecturer as he or she is speaking. Now what if you're not given the lecture slides? So what I advise is for you to take pictures of the slides if you're allowed to. So of course, you have to ask permission. If the lecture is being given to you fast, so if you might miss some details, at least you were able to take a picture of the entire slide. Let's go to step number 3, which is the preparation part. The first thing that you would need in the preparation would be taking power naps after you arrived from school or after you had your online classes. So I advise at least 30-minute power naps, and remember that you have to avoid studying if you're sleepy. If you're used to taking caffeine products such as tea or coffee to keep you awake, then take them. But what I advise is for you to, as much as possible, not be too dependent on caffeine. Train your mind to switch to focus mode when it's studying time. You always have to keep a tumbler with water beside you because it is very important for you to keep yourself hydrated. Next, you also have to eat brain food or healthy food as snacks, examples of which are nuts, which could be almonds, pecan nuts, walnuts. You could also eat fruits such as avocados and berries. If you're fond of eating chocolate, go for dark. But you have to make sure that everything is within reach when you're going to study. Remember that you have to focus, so you have to be in a quiet room. You have to have a neat desk. Prepare all your study materials again within your reach. Try to avoid distractions. One way would be to turn off your phone, to place it on an airplane mode, to turn off your notifications, to keep your phone on silent mode, or the do not disturb mode. For the 4th step, that would be reading. So the first thing you have to do is to scan the material that you're about to study. Check the topics, check the number of chapters, and check the number of pages. So let's say that you want to study this particular chapter within 2 hours, then you would have to divide 120 minutes by the number of pages within the 2 chapters. Okay, so now that we know the time allotment, that would be our target when we're reading. You always have to connect the reading material to your prior knowledge or experience. So don't proceed with the next part if you still haven't understood the previous part. Now, what if in spite of your efforts to avoid distractions, you still get distracted thinking of random thoughts? One way would be by chewing a gum. So they say that chewing a gum while reading would help you read fast. But let me share with you a very weird technique that I use when I get distracted while I'm reading. So I take a very deep breath, and then I hold it, and then I read the sentences or the paragraphs fast, and then exhale. I don't know if you will find it effective, but somehow I think it works for me. Now, while you are reading, you also have to ask yourself questions, because part of studying smart would be the ability to anticipate what will be asked in exams. So whenever you think of a question while you're studying, you always make sure that you try to find out the answer. You could keep a separate post-it beside you or a small paper, and then you write there your questions. So after you read the study material, you could look for the answers all at once. It's very important that when you read, you also talk to yourself, because in that way, you can explain to yourself what you are reading. Another thing is for you to rewrite using pencil, I suggest, the high-yield information on the side. So when we say high-yield, these would be the most important points in what you're reading. This would be the information that you believe could possibly come out in the exam. It can also be the information that you're always confused with, or that you don't understand, or that you always forget. It could also include acronyms and mnemonics. And what would be the purpose of these side notes? So right before the exam, you just have to read these side notes on your last-minute browsing. Sometimes, some of the questions that came out of the exam would be the things that I actually read just in my last-minute browsing of those side notes. Let's say that you've already completed the chapter or the reading material within the allotted time. It's time now to synthesize. So if you can, or if you have enough time, you try to rewrite the summary of what you read on a separate notebook or on a separate paper. At the same time, it would be much easier for you if you do it afterwards, because you already know the general overview of what you've read. So you would know what would be the most important things to put in the summary. One effective way by which I summarize the information that I've studied is by using tables. Because while you're taking the exam, you're able to picture or imagine in which part of the table you wrote it on. So this is particularly helpful, especially when you're memorizing. Now, if you're a visual learner, then drawing would be particularly helpful. On the summary or synthesis that you're making, you have to make sure that it is organized, or there's also an outline for it, because it would also help you organize the content in your brain. Now, under reading would also be highlighting, underlining, and listening to music. Now, in terms of the number of highlighters that you could use, try to limit it to 3. Examples of 3 colors could be pink for the main subject, green for the titles, and yellow for the key points. Just as with note-taking, you don't highlight the articles, the prepositions, and you only try to highlight the main and important points. So shown here on your left would be a paragraph still without highlights, and on your right would be the part wherein we apply our highlighting techniques. Now, while reading, we also have to underline. So, in underlining, we could use a different colored pen. What I suggest is using a red pen, because most textbooks would have black text. Now, here's a bonus tip. So, if you have a lot to study, or if you're already cramming, one technique is by using a pencil, preferably mechanical, so you don't have to sharpen it. Use this pencil to encircle, to underline, and to put check marks. Now, the last technique when it comes to reading would be listening to music. So, in terms of listening to music, you have to listen to soft or classical music, or if you check Spotify, they have certain playlists. So, you have to listen to songs you don't know, or instrumental songs, so that you won't be tempted to sing along. But personally, I don't always listen to music when I study. I only listen to music when I'm in a place that is full of noise. So if you're already in a quiet place, then you may opt not to listen to music. So for the last step in our studying techniques, this would be time management. The key in making an effective step 1, 2, 3, and 4 would be time management. So in this step, it's very important for you to make your schedule. In studying, Fridays are the most important part of the week. What is this Friday technique? It is during the Friday afternoon that you have to make your schedule or your to-do list for the Saturday and Sunday or the weekend, and the Monday to Friday for the incoming week. So this is the most crucial day because your productivity would depend on how you construct your schedule. Although it seems kind of tedious to do the schedule, one good thing about the Fridays would be the Friday evening. So this would be your time to have a study-less night. This would be your time to rest because of course you need the fuel to be able to study over the weekend, and you need the rest after the long and tiring week. However, in certain cases wherein you have a lot to do for the incoming week, then you may also utilize that Friday evening. But what I suggest is for you to start with tasks that do not require much brain work. There's one more technique in time management. Always do your homeworks, your group works, or your projects first and in advance. So if you're choosing on what to prioritize, whether it's a project versus an exam, so I suggest that you prioritize first the project before the exam. Because if you finish these group works or projects early, then you can really focus and allot your time into studying for quizzes or exams. There are some mobile apps wherein you're allotted 25 minutes to study and 5 minutes as breaks, and this might also be helpful for you. Now, of course, in managing your time, so in making your calendar, it also involves time that you want to spend with your family or friends, or time you want to spend for yourself, and of course, time that you want to spend praying. You could pray the daily rosary or daily novenas. Now for some bonus tip, so if someone asks for your help, go ahead and teach them. Remember that teaching would help you learn, understand, and remember better. In that way, you help yourself by helping others. This way, you get to hear more input from other people, and you also share your understanding, and you're also able to teach. In studying, your mindset is also very important. And as Michael Jordan said, I can accept failure, but I can't accept not trying. That's it for this vlog, and if you have any comments or suggestions, please comment down below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to my channel, and click that bell so that you would get notified whenever I post a new vlog.